It's time for wrestling fans to begin having an uncomfortable conversation about Pat McAfee. McAfee currently serves as the color commentator for Monday Night Raw alongside Michael Cole, and is one of, if not the most polarizing commentating figure in all of professional wrestling today. For as many people who love his comedic timing and the humor with which he does his commentary, there are just as many people out there who find his shtick not only annoying, but find that it takes away from the product. And for many people out there who do see that, it is a real thing that we need to talk about, because one of your key jobs as a color commentator is not only to provide some light and brevity to what we're seeing on screen, which is true, and I think Pat McAfee has that part down, and down better than a lot of other people in the wrestling world, to be honest, but that is only part of the job. And the reality is that McAfee leans way too hard into that. While it's entertaining as all hell to see him jump on a table and start eating with Jey Uso, or start doing the Nakamura dance on the table and entertaining the fans, it does make him more of the show than it probably should. Remember, as I said before, your job as a color commentator is not only to add that levity, but also help get talent over and provide that credibility in that role. And that's why, for the most part, when you see color commentators like Taz, like Stu Bennett, like Corey Graves, they are former professional wrestlers who are able to add that credibility, add that in-ring perspective to the match, and that's what helped makes the match even better, or what we're seeing before our eyes even better, because we know that this is coming from people who have been there, done that, and understand exactly what it takes to win. And that is not saying that McAfee hasn't had matches in WWE. He's obviously competed with the likes of Adam Cole and Baron Corbin and others on a very high level, and I actually commend him for that. He's one of the few celebrity involvements in WWE that I think has added to the product, and I find his matches to be pretty entertaining. However, I cannot say the same about his commentary, and I don't think that that gives him the credibility needed to act as one of the most important pieces of the show, that being that color commentator. And again, this is not trying to discourage people or tell people that Pat McAfee is horrible and needs to be taken off of TV. I actually think that McAfee, when he was on Friday Night SmackDown with Michael Cole back in 2021, was doing a great job. And I think at that point, he was still kind of trying to take it a little bit more seriously than he is now. And when you had that, I thought he played off of Michael Cole very well. It wasn't exactly what we needed from the color commentary position. It wasn't that experienced veteran of the game who was offering tips and pointers on why these little things in a match matter. But it was that of a fan of wrestling who understood the product behind the scenes, and it was very relatable in that way. And I thought that the excitement, along with the ability to talk to and relate to the fans, is what made McAfee in his original run with WWE as a commentator so great. Then he goes away because of college football, and he ends up taking a break. And when he comes back, we are getting a bit of a different Pat McAfee. We're getting a Pat McAfee who obviously was one of the lead voices on College Game Day Today. The Pat McAfee Show grew even more successful in that time, landing a deal with ESPN in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And Pat McAfee essentially became an institution of professional sports. And that's why when he came back in 2024, there was so much excitement about it, because McAfee had been away for so long, and we had all expected that we would get the same Pat McAfee that we got before. But instead, this one was a little bit different. This one was more willing to lean into the comedy, more willing to create almost a sideshow of the match, and not really add to the match or add any perspective, really. And sometimes when you're watching Monday Night Raw and it's dragging for 3 hours, You need that. You need the brevity, but you also need something to keep you engaged in a meaningful way. And we have not gotten that from Pat McAfee ever since he returned. And if you are one of those people who just enjoys the shtick and enjoys that, that is fine. I am not talking to you, but there are a large amount of people who find what he's doing not only takes away from the show, but makes it even more unwatchable than it already is. There are several problems with Monday Night Raw being a 3-hour show already. We do not need Pat McAfee to add to that. And I am not saying that McAfee can't get back to that 2021 style. I just think it needs to be reined in. He doesn't need to be yeeting on the table every single time. He doesn't need to be doing these almost side quests during matches that are very important to the show because Pat's just kind of talking about or joking about whatever he wants to. I think that it needs to be reined in and it needs to matter, and we need to make sure that what's coming out of the commentators' mouths matter. One of the best commentators in the history of professional wrestling was Jerry Lawler. And he's someone who you could argue was even better and more profound, if you want to say it, in his role as a comedic character. And for every single time that Jerry Lawler would spend telling a joke or, taking away and being the star of the commentating show, he would still add to the match when it mattered. And we cannot say that about his latter run. I am very critical of that in 2012 beyond. But when he was on top and he was doing his thing with JR, they were the best commentary duo that there was ever. And the reason for that is because Jerry Lawler understood that at the end of the day, he needed to put over what was happening in the ring. Whether or not he agreed with the character, whether or not he personally liked that character and storyline, he made you feel some type of way because he was giving that perspective. He wasn't just saying that Braun Breaker is a brick house. He wasn't just saying that I'm gonna yeet all over you, Cole. He wasn't being the meme that unfortunately Pat McAfee has become. Like I said before, McAfee can change that, WWE can change that, and we can get back to the way things were in 2021 when I thought that McAfee was a very compelling commentator and added to the show. That's just not what we're getting now. But hey, I guess we'll see.